Okay, so we have 5 different categories. The vacuum's on the left, the servers are second to the left, entropy, algebra, and geometry. It's Vegas, but VEGAS, but it's out of order, but it's a good way to remember the acronym. So vacuum is infinite potential, so it's on the left. There's also an I there as well, an eyeball. So that's infinite consciousness. So if you're putting it in the 5 C's model, the vacuum is consciousness, the servers are constants, the entropy is codes, the algebra is choices, and the geometry is cinema. So consciousness, constants, codes, choices, and cinema. So again, consciousness is the infinite potential, is the vacuum on the left where that eyeball is. There's also a question mark over there because the fundamental nature of it is absolute freedom. Absolute freedom and a question mark are the same thing because you can't actually put absolute freedom into any form of category or boxes or constraints in any way, ultimately. So that's what chaos is. Chaos can't actually formally be ordered. But the best way that God can express itself is through servers. Servers are constant. So what do we mean by that? So that's why the little line seeds between all of them, seeds, 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 right? Vacuum seeds servers, which seed entropy, which seeds algebra, which seeds geometry. So the best way we can describe how God as that chaos orders itself into experiences is through seeding these servers or through these constants. So what that looks like is it looks like worlds. So that's what those little purple spheres look like there. So each one of those is a world, and worlds look different. In this local world, in this dimension, in this extent of conscious experience, it looks like a body that has 4 limbs, it has 2 arms, it has 2 legs, it has 2 eyeballs, it has DNA encoding, it's a carbon-based vehicle, and space has a certain depth to it. Time has a certain appearance of a linear flow to it, which is actually cyclic. But so that's what this dimension looks like. That's what the server looks like. It looks like this. So other servers can look slightly differently than this, but the general gist of it is you have consciousness embodied in vehicles that are entangled with itself, that are talking to itself across what appears like distance, something like that. Now, so what's happening in those servers is the primary thing that's happening is the measurement of entropy of the conscious entities. So that's why over here you see a red, orange, yellow, blue, green, then there's blue, purple, etc. We're just using the rainbow as a way of understanding it. Entropy is a measurement of disorder versus order. Order is when you understand yourself as infinite consciousness. Disorder is when you believe that you are an ego entity among other real separate ego entities, and that you can behave in ways that are unethical, that are greedy, that are selfish, that are starting war, that are being violent, whatever. This is the journey back home, right? So you go through a journey back home, you shed all of these little onion layers as you wake up. So now measuring the consciousness's entropy is exactly what is determining the reality that it's projecting, because the entropy, the level of entropy is seeding the linear algebra that's happening, which is rendering the geometric reality or cinema of that conscious lens. So if the entity has high amount of contraction or high amount of entropy, then the algebra that it's going to be computing in that moment, the choices that it's going to be making are all about ego, they're all about greed, they're all about selfishness, they're all about war, violence, whatever. So then the probabilistic nature of the choices that it's going to be making are going to be more about those things. So you're going to have a very low probabilistic weight to do things that are very holistic.
Now, if the entropy is very low, then you're going to have a very high probabilistic nature of doing things that are very holistic. So love, interconnection, prosperity, basic needs, abundance, those types of things. So now, though linear algebra of those choices is exactly what's seeding the geometric cinema or the rendering of the moment. So it's not that these servers are real, independently existing things from consciousness. All they really are forms of geometric rendering or holographic rendering in the moment. It's just a field of light and information that looks like it has depth, but there really isn't any depth. It looks like things really exist independently from consciousness, but they don't. They're just projections of this film strip that are happening based on the level of self-knowledge of infinite consciousness. And this is all entangled. So, meaning if the film strips that are being chosen and rendered by consciousness are of war and separation, then the general entangled nature of that server is going to be in war and separation. And there may be only a couple little conscious entities or lenses that are saying, we're all in infinite consciousness. Why are we all warring and all this kind of stuff? Because it's entangled in that way. And that's ultimately what an infinite consciousness would want to do, is to do that kind of thing with itself, that kind of exploration. But so as more and more of these conscious lenses, as they decrease the amount of entropy, they increase the amount of holism and self-knowledge and love, they make more and more choices that are in that direction of regenerative community and basic needs and prosperity and utopia. Then the geometric rendering, the entangled geometric rendering for all the conscious entities becomes more and more like that, of that nature.